We all love a good boss fight. They've been climactic set pieces of video games going back to the original Mario Brothers. They can make for some of the most memorable moments in a storyline or put an interesting twist on gameplay mechanics. Sometimes though, developers do go a little bit further than that. They turn these encounters into difficulty spikes that can truly test your patience and skills. And as such, we at Flickering Myth have decided to look at 5 of the hardest boss fights seen throughout the years. Now be warned as always, that spoilers will be discussed for each game and that yes, we are avoiding putting any Dark Souls content in for obvious reasons. So without any further ado, here we go, our top 5. Number 5, The Mantis Ant in The Secret of Mana. Now The Secret of Mana was one of the most popular ARPGs to come out for the SNES, telling the story about a young boy who embarks on a quest after finding a magic sword. It was a typical fantasy yarn, spun with good visuals and a beautiful soundtrack. Acquiring said sword and taking it to the local village triggers an earthquake that sends the hero tumbling underground where the first boss resides. A creature identified off screen as the Mantis Ant, it was ironically the hardest fight in the game, solely because you aren't given every opportunity to level up prior to it. All its attacks, from acid breath to gem missiles, are unavoidable and can even paralyse you, preventing you from attacking it in any shape or form. Now, the reason this fight rests at the bottom of the list is because every time you die, your avatar is revived by a fellow character, technically preventing you from getting a game over. But that certainly didn't stop the Mantis Ant from being a grindy, tough boss indeed. Number 4, Hoyt in Far Cry 3. Yeah, now Far Cry 3 may have had a fascinating story about one man's descent from civilised frat boy to killer warrior, but it faltered significantly in the boss department. With the exception of Vaas, every fight against a major baddie involved a quick-time event scheme or pressing the right buttons. The worst of these came conveniently with the final boss, Hoyt. Now, defeating him isn't any different from the prior villains, but the speed of the button prompts this time around is noticeably faster. One mistake and you're forced to restart the entire sequence, making repeat playthroughs almost a guarantee. Number 3, The King in Teslagrad. Now, Teslagrad was a unique indie platformer from developer-publisher Rain Games. Combining a steampunk aesthetic with magnetic technology, it created some interesting puzzles for players to navigate through. One of the downsides to the game though was that you had no health bar. One hit from an enemy and you would have to start back up from your last checkpoint. Now, this was tolerable enough till the finale where you're required to fight the King, the man who had been responsible for all the negative events in the game. Now, the King is not only impervious to most attacks, but has a variety of abilities at his disposal, forcing you to use different tactics depending on each blast. Oh, and of course one mishap and you're blasted back to the beginning of this fight. Definitely a tough one. Number 2, The Storm Fortress in Assassin's Creed Rogue. Assassin's Creed Rogue may have been derided at launch for not innovating the franchise enough compared to Unity, but it was still a great game that featured an interesting story and the same fun ship gameplay from Black Flag. One of the side activities brought back from its pirate predecessor were legendary ships. These naval beasts were tougher to beat than regular ships, often featuring unique weaponry that gave them an advantage over you. The last of these, unlocked after beating the other 3, was the Storm Fortress. A monstrosity level 99, the Storm Fortress boss battle takes place during a hurricane, with heavy wind, rain and a lack of sunlight all contributing to a dark atmosphere. Now what makes things hard though is the quick manoeuvrability of the fortress. She's able to turn on a dime and hit you with a straight barrage of cannon fire that knocks your health down almost all the way. Oh, and if you manage to sink her health low enough, 2 other legendary ships are called upon to aid her. Doesn't really feel that fair, does it? And finally, number 1, Ursula from the first Kingdom Hearts. Now, though most fans look to Chain of Memories in Kingdom Hearts 2 for the franchise's harder bosses, our money goes to the villains in the original. The top of this list was Ursula from the Little Mermaid level. Now, the bad swimming controls, atrocious camera and terrible lock-on system would be enough to make any fighter choke. But what makes the battle against Ursula particularly grating was her high defence, impenetrable spinning attack and the annoying magic blasts from eel minions Flotsam and Jetsam. Now, defeating all of these was a grind, but doing so only delays the inevitable fight against Ursula's second form, wherein she grows to a gargantuan size. Thankfully, that fight is much easier, if only because Ursula is much easier to hit, but the first phase earns its rank, in our opinion, as one of the toughest boss fights of all time. Anyway, those are our picks for the 5 toughest Neil's boss fights in video games. I'm sure you guys will have loads more, so as always, let us know in the comments below what you believe are the hardest ones you've ever found, and be sure to subscribe for more great content to us here on Flickering Myth. Until next time, this is Scotty saying thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye!